Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to the first episode of what I guess we're going to be calling the Rellim Roundtable, since, we got to have a name for this shit. New podcast that I'm going to be doing on this channel, hopefully with a lot of guests. But today I have a good friend of mine, Mehtab. How's it going today?
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful, wonderful.
But we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff between many different facets of competitive play over different games, but for the most part it's going to be Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which Mehtab is an avid player of, and then Overwatch, which I am an avid player of, and we both watch it a lot. So I'm just going to get some music in here, and we're going to get rolling on some of these things we're going to talk about today. So this is mostly towards you because I actually haven't played a shit ton of competitive. I think you know that, but why Smash? Why did you choose Smash? Like, can you date it back to any specific time? Like, did you play on Brawl, or did you play, earlier than that even?
Yeah, that's actually so when I used to live in Michigan, and this was I was in third grade. Me and all my family, it was all age ranges. We'd have kids my age range, and family who was much older, and they were teens, 20s, and we'd all just sit together, play Brawl, take turns. We used to even have because it was 10 kids, and it's only 4 players. We'd have a scratch piece of paper doing turns and shit. So
yeah,
that's when I first played the Super Smash Bros. Series, and I loved it from there. I just loved the game. We'd play
Which
for
game
hours.
was it?
It was Brawl.
It was Brawl? Okay. Yeah, that's what we started on. I mean, when I was a kid, yeah, it was Brawl came out on the Wii, and I think there was a bunch of deals where you could get the Wii and Brawl at the same time. Bundles? I got the Wii, and then a couple months after I got Brawl. But,
okay.
Dude, that was definitely a hell of a game.
I think that was a lot of kids first Super Smash Bros. Game
it was for
Brawl.
me.
Yeah, same here.
I haven't actually ever touched Melee, and God knows I haven't touched what is it, 64?
Yeah,
that's the first one, right?
Yep, 64.
Yeah. Did you play any of those after the fact when you started playing the game a lot more, or
I played Melee one time actually just a couple months ago.
Okay.
I was at my sister's place, and her roommate had a GameCube, and she had Melee, so I played with her, and it was a fun game.
Yeah, it's a lot faster is what I heard. I'm not sure if that's the case, but
at top level it is. At the level rate I was playing, I was just starting oh my god, I it was really fun to play, but I was there's no I was not doing wave dashing or anything
and then so you've done a couple things competitively, right? I mean, I know we did that whole mock tournament thing, which that was super fun, but I don't know if you really consider that competitive. But I know you've been in some tournaments. Do you want to just talk about any of the ones you can remember?
Yeah, I just started tournaments a couple months ago, so I'm really pretty new to it. I started doing online tournaments first, just entering what I could, just to practice matchups and stuff. I wasn't really trying to win or hoping I'd win, because there's really good players and everything.
Oh yeah, of course.
And yeah, I started doing online tournaments, and that was fun. Then just the tournaments with you that you hosted, and then now I just do weeklies at the Smash Club, which is offline. So
yeah, and I'm sure that's a shit ton of good practice for you, right?
Yeah, I
playing against other players, because I and we'll talk about it a little bit later. I had some ideas, but I'm sure playing in the friend group and stuff over and over against the same people probably there's a point where it stops becoming super good practice, especially when you're just dominating everybody.
Not dominating. It's not dominating.
Taking them down.
No.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And the next one I wanted to talk about was kind of it's a broad term, but the Smash community and the Overwatch community. So how do you think, and I'm not sure if you might not have an answer to all the questions I might ask, which is fine, but how do you think the Smash community feels or views casual play versus pro play? Do they have a different kind of outlook on it? Do they dislike casual players, or they just don't take any of them seriously, or is it kind of just a mutual thing?
In this game, I don't think it is still it's a still pretty big topic in Ultimate, but I watched a few documentaries and some YouTube videos, so that was a really big topic back in the Brawl days, because that was the first split away from Melee, which is purely competitive, really high skill ceiling and skill floor. And then it split to Brawl, which is intended for a lot more casual viewers. So that's like I think that's when the community started to split between like competitive and casual camps.
Yeah, do you know if that's when was Brawl the first one to like add items into the game as like a mode or the story mode, or was that something else?
I think all of them had items because it was intended to
really?
play like casual.
Okay.
Like Melee definitely had it. 64 I think had it too. Okay. I never like.
I didn't
64.
play any of those two really for that much, so I wouldn't know. But I'd assume that maybe it was just when it came out that Brawl kind of opened the gate to a lot more casual play. Because I know when I was a kid, we always played with those wacky different items and stuff, and I didn't care. But now that I've like grown, I'm like I don't want to use items. I want to play seriously. I want to try.
Like get some.
I was wondering if like to people in the Smash community, it's like, oh, if you play with items, like you're not a Smash player, you know.
That's like a major like stigma I think at like professional levels. Like they'll have like for fun like item tournaments, but nobody does like any like serious item tournaments, or it's not like any stakes. They might just be at an event, just to like bring in viewers and everything.
Yeah. I'd say for Overwatch, I don't know. I think it's a pretty casual game for the most part. Like I couldn't say any statistical numbers as to whether there's like more people playing competitive or more people playing casual. I'd say there's a lot of people who play quick play and stuff, but even in like the quick play area, people will get really competitive towards the game. So like when I say it's more of a casual game, I might mean just there's a lot of people who play the casual modes, not competitive itself, but I feel like the community, and I could be wrong, I don't speak for the community, but I feel like people have begun to get more competitive as they started understanding, characters and things, and there's a decent amount of toxicity, from certain people in the game. I don't know how that is in Smash. It's harder to be toxic when you're not, because there's not like a chat feature when you play online, right? It's just you can do like emotes, or like I don't know if you can you like do text bubbles or anything in the game?
You can do like in arena, like not in quick play. You can't there's like no communication with the other player, but if you like make a lobby or an arena, there's like you can do the voice chat, and there's like the small bubbles that you can say like, good fight, I'll win for sure this time, all that cheesy stuff.
Yeah, you can't like you can't really shit talk someone while you're in the game, and that's something that'll happen in global chat and Overwatch a lot, is especially from your own team. Unfortunately, it's like the kind of like oh, you're so shit at that character, and it's like, bro, I'm just trying to play casual, man. I'm not. This ain't. But at the same time, I'm also like, I'll play casual and I'll play like 10 games with people who are just throwing, and I'm like, God, I'd be better at the game.
Strike a Z64.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps, if you're watching.
One thing you did say that kind of struck my attention was when you were talking about more of a competitive shift in Overwatch that you're seeing. Is that something you like, or would you rather prefer stay more casual?
I think what the game needs is... And hopefully, I know you don't know much about Overwatch 2, but hopefully this might have, an outlet for it. I think the game needs something where you can practice without any, like, downside to it. Because when you're playing in quick play, right, and you're playing with 5 other people, and you're playing a new character that you've never played before, so you're utter trash at this character, and people want to win this quick play. Maybe this is their like 6th loss in a row or something, because I know when I lose like 8 times in a row, that 9th time, maybe I'll be playing with some friends or something, or maybe I'll just get like just an awful day with just bad matches. Maybe I'm not in the mood myself, and I get this person who's playing on this character that's like doesn't work with the team. They're just bad at it, and you're pissed off. But if you are trying to learn, you gotta start from somewhere. It's not the same within Smash. When you're learning a character, or I assume when you're learning a character, you can keep losing, and it's on you. I mean, that's the only way to get better is to play it. So I'm hoping in Overwatch 2 they're adding more PvE content. I'm hoping just having a lot more content to play, like. Because right now there's arcade modes, which are like kind of goofier modes, but it's not the same. And I'm hoping the PvE content will allow people to play it more casually and learn characters, because I do like that Overwatch is competitive. I like that people understand heroes, and that like as a community, I think we're just getting more intelligent as the game goes on. Like we understand things more. You look back in like 2018 when Overwatch League, which is the league for it started, or you look even further before that, and we had an understanding of the game, but if you even like played some of the players that are in Plat now against the players in Plat back, which Plat is kind of like the middle ground for like the Elo, the middle players.
Okay.
If you played some of them now versus people back when the game came out, it would not even, they just dunk on them,
Yeah.
So I like that we're getting more competitive over time and we're getting better at the game, but at the same time, it just feels so difficult to like learn something. People are just so critical of you if you're not doing good on something.
Yeah.
Even in quick play, it's like, where do I go from there? Where do I go from the casual mode? Like, there's not a step down from what you guys call the casual mode. So like, what do you do?
That is like, I feel like that is such an interesting like topic in itself, and I feel like we could have like just talk about just improvement in itself like for like hours.
Oh, and I do plan on bringing that up
Okay.
a little bit later.
Then I'll save this for that part. Okay. Yeah.
Something else I wanted to ask about, because I don't really know how it works in Smash. I've talked to you guys a little bit about it, but I've never like gone in depth. Is how, well, it's Elo is what we call it in Overwatch, and it was based off, I think, of a League of Legends term. But how does like the ranking system work in Smash? Like, what kinds of different levels in competitive are there? Like, are there like 5 or 6 different like levels? Like, because in Overwatch you've got bronze, silver, gold, plat, diamond, master, grandmaster, and top 500. So there's like 9 different levels. What about in Smash?
So Smash is not really like levels. It's more so PGR. And those are just like power rankings. And there's like different levels to the tournament. So there's like S tier tournaments, A tier tournaments, B tier, and that's like the levels.
Yeah.
And you get basically the placings you get on those tournaments determine your PGR, and like of course you get, like win a S tier tournament, that's an increase your PGR more than like winning like a B tier tournament.
Is this like in just like regular competitive as well? It's the same thing with PGR, or is
like that's like that is like the whole competitive, like offline competitive.
Okay.
Online competitive, there is like online rankings, but it doesn't hold much like fruition really because it's like online.
So is this like a number value that you're
Yeah.
given? Would you say there's like a specific value range that like the general player, like that middle kind of player, people who are like, they're not bad at the game but they're not like great, do you know like any ideas as to where that might be?
Middle like wouldn't even, I don't, middle players wouldn't even like be on the PGR because I think it's the PGR is of 500 players, and basically it's like if you're ranked or not ranked. So there's like in the community there's like low level players, mid level, high level, and like top level players.
Yeah.
That's like probably like top like 50.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, top 50 of the on the PGR.
Where do you like stand on that, that kind of area?
I'm like hoping to find that out like as soon as like COVID ends. I'm like really hoping to enter offline tournaments. I don't think I'd be like ranked for like at least like a year. Okay. I think like I'm a mid-level player, like compared to the like top. I think I like entered mid-level just like now. Like I'm feeling confident. I have a good understanding of the game, matchups, characters.
Wow. So the fact that you entered like mid-level right now after playing for so long is pretty surprising to me, because I feel like you have a pretty good understanding of the game. So I can't imagine what kind of understanding you have to have of this game to get to the top level. If you're mid-level, that's crazy.
It is insane. Yeah, like high level and like top level players, like they just have like I have like a basic understanding of the game, but they have like in-depth thought process. Like they just know matchups so much better. They know their own character so much better, like the ins and outs. Mm-hmm. They're like they know how to optimize their character so much. Like they get like one hit, say so I like secondary Sheik, right? Yeah. And like say I get like a down tilt into like fair, like, and maybe like one other hit, right? And that's like a pretty like okay combo. Like you'll get stage control, but like if a top level player gets like one down tilt, they can just string it into like 50%, just like that. Like that's just like the difference of like level of optimization.
Dang. Well, speaking of characters, I do want to try to transition here, and I'm gonna bring it up if I have it. I should. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we can talk about Overwatch characters, but we can start on the Smash characters first, because my God, there's a lot of these characters. Yeah. There's so many, and this is a really broad statement. So I'm going to try to string some of these together, because when I was writing them down, like I realized that you could go on for hours with this first question of how do Smash characters differ. Okay. I feel like it's super That's like such a broad question.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe a better question is how does each character like play? There's different play styles for them. Are there different like play styles between characters? Are there different play styles for the same character? Like how does each character kind of differ? If you could just give like a broad thing, you could give examples if you want. I mean, do whatever you want. This is a podcast, it's not super serious.
Yeah. So yeah, that is like that is an interesting thing. You also said like there's so many characters in this. Yeah, like it's insane. I think there's like pushing like 80 characters now.
We can check that out. Yeah. If you count both Pyra and Mithra, you got 80 characters.
80
wow,
characters,
insane.
and it's insane. So basically how you break those characters down is like there's heavies, so that's like one group that'll be like your DK Bowser, you know.
Yeah.
Then there's like Rushdown, which would be like Sheik, Joker to an extent, you know, like super like fast Rushdown characters. Then you have campy characters like characters that want to control the pace of the game. That'd be like your Pac-Man, Link's. Link's like kind of weird because he's like projectile, sword, kick. He's like a hybrid character more so.
Yeah.
But like and then I guess there's like swordies you can put in a
little tier of their own.
Yeah, tier of their
own.
Where they're not like rushed down. They're not campy. They're spacey more so, you know.
So would you say like okay, let's take Link for example, because
Okay.
I know you know a lot about Link, and
Yeah.
I think bringing it back to the characters you know might give a little bit more insight into this stuff. Would you say there's like different play styles to playing a Link? Is it like character dependent, or like when you're doing a matchup, is it dependent on that, or even further like could you just play the character differently against all characters if you wanted to? Like, is there an optimal way to play it, or is it kind of like it's fitted to each person?
I think yeah, like Link is like one of those characters where it's like it can actually be, I've seen like so many different Links, and they all like honestly they all have like different play styles. Link's like a character you can be like really creative with, which is what I like, because there's like so much stuff you can do with the bomb.
Oh yeah.
Like just trapping your opponent. There's like so much different like ways to express yourself when playing Link.
Yeah, all those videos I've seen you guys send in chat where a Link will get off of stage, just bomb his way back onto the stage onto the other side, and it's like, how do you even do that?
And it's like stuff like,
yeah,
I love how like people think of that. They like go in training room, like try it out, test it out. It's like insane.
Yeah, pushing the boundaries of what the character can do. So would you say, so there's all these different play styles. Does it also depend on like who you're matched up against? I would imagine it does, right? Like I mean, I know you've played against Little Mac a lot in our friend group, and but you've also played against Pokemon Trainer with the same character. Do you have to approach that differently?
Yeah, you to a certain extent. Little Mac is basically, you definitely have to approach those. Anytime you're playing Mac, I feel like no matter what character you're playing, you just have to approach it in the same way. Just camp, bro. I'm not getting near those fists, okay?
Yeah, you got it. You got to stay away, man.
I
He'll
can't
deck your
deal
ass.
with that. I can't box with Mac. But yeah, Lil Mac, I'm just staying away from the dude.
Yeah, well, he's got the projectiles to do it.
I got the projectiles to do it. With Pokemon Trainer, like I can like go in a lot more, just keep landing with Nair, and there's not much like Pokemon Trainer doesn't have as good an outer shield unless you're playing Charizard. Then you got like I think it's like a frame 6 up smash and that up B with super armor. So
yeah.
But like Squirtle, Ivysaur, you can just like abuse Nair. But yeah, there's like different things you can do in different matchups, and I think one of the hardest things that I've been trying to get better on is not playing off autopilot. Not playing the same in every matchup. Realizing I'm playing like a different character, so I have to like kind of differ like how I approach this character instead of just going in doing my same like blueprint routine.
Yeah, and I think you weren't exactly saying it, but something that I've talked to you about in the past. I've played a little bit of Smash, like just a tiny bit. I'm sure maybe with more practice I could get better, but it's something that you guys have told me is when I was playing against you that mixing up, is really important. And it's not as important in Overwatch as it is in Smash. It seems that you wanna mix up, and in Overwatch it's kind of bigger plays, rotations for the entire team, because you can't have every person in Overwatch. It's kind of like a machine. It's like a well-oiled machine, when your composition works together. And if you want composition, it's just like what characters you're playing, what 6 people you're playing together. You could do certain things, you could do certain plays to mix it up, or you could take a different route of the map. But I feel like with uh, Smash, there's a lot of different ways to mix it up. Like when I would play Piranha Plant, you guys told me sometimes you want to use that poison right out of the gate. You know, whenever they're approaching you, use the poison. But if you do that enough times, they're gonna predict it. So then, like if you do that and then you stop doing it, they might like try to react to something that doesn't happen, and then you can kind of counter them that way.
That's like that's honestly one of my favorite parts about Smash. It's just like the different like levels of thought you can put in it. You know, you can start doing your own thing, and then as the match progresses, you know, you're just changing up, adapting to the opponent, your opponent adapting to you, and I just find that like super fascinating, you know.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about like the players of the game, but one thing I wanted to ask, and actually maybe I'll switch over to the heroes here because it's a little bit more prevalent in Overwatch, but are there metas in Smash? Because in Overwatch, metas are, it's like that's a humongous part.
Yeah, I've heard of you guys talk about like metas. I remember Brigadier. You guys said like that completely changed the meta when she was introduced.
Oh, Brigitte, you mean?
Brigitte, sorry.
Brigadier. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, metas are absolutely huge, and you have 32 heroes, which dwarfed by Smash's 72. But the fact that you can play 6 of them at a time,
so the combinations are like limitless.
And you got League of Legends and like Valorant. And the thing that's really interesting to me about characters, in games that choose to have like, because you look at CS:GO and you look at Valorant, there's a lot of comparisons you can make because they're kind of in the same genre, or like even Rainbow Six Siege. But the thing that's interesting when you have like characters with abilities is that it just, you do one little change from the dev team, like tweaks one little thing, and it can just completely flip how a character plays. And I'm sure that's the same in Smash, because I know that they, despite not seeming like they want to make it a competitive game, they do a lot of balancing with certain heroes, and they do really change up like that. So are there metas, like what characters in a certain time period will be like the best, and maybe that'll shift the next couple of months or something?
Yeah, like the meta is like everybody always talks about like tier lists basically like define the meta, right? And you think like updates like in Overwatch, like that would be like the holy grail of like the meta, like it would determine if it breaks a character, makes a character. And at some point at some extent it does in Smash too. But the different thing in Smash is it's like still such a young game. It's only like 2 years in with all these characters. It's not like the game hasn't been found out basically yet. So there's like, let's say I'll give you like an example. Diddy Kong is a character who like a couple of months ago you would ask like any top player, he was like hot garbage, right? And now like he's like top 5, top 10 in the game. He's like super feared. People are like picking him up. People are like practicing the matchup. So again, it's like now granted there were like a few couple of buffs that helped that happen. But in general, like the game is just so like so young right now, So when a character is found out better, that will honestly affect the meta more than like an update that like granted updates do affect the meta a lot, but I think more so finding out characters, because there's so many, right? That'll affect it more.
I feel like this is a story that, for the average Smash player who probably hasn't heard too much of competitive, someone who just played a little bit of Brawl, maybe they just play Ultimate, I feel like everyone's heard about back in Melee how Hungrybox changed the game with Jiggly, right? And that's like such a thing, because I think you're right, when a game is that, it's younger, and I was talking about this earlier with Overwatch, how you could pair plat players, that middle pack against the game 4 years ago, and it wouldn't even be a competition, that you just get better and better and better. So maybe in Smash it's not about like all the balancing, but it's about like understanding how to play a character to their like fullest potential. You might think you have an idea, but maybe it's just that people pick up the characters that are like more straightforward. And I don't know if that's true, but I think sometimes there's this like hidden amount of potential you don't think about, or you maybe just can't find. It's not as easy to like get this character to work really well, but as the game progresses and you do certain things with certain characters and you start overlapping that, you really bring out like all these different things out of different characters you might not think are worth a dime,
Yeah. And I think like you said, like that's like super interesting to me, like just how now again, like if a top player picks up a character, that meta of that character is going to be found out a lot quicker than like if just say like just like anybody's playing that character.
Anybody does it. Speaking of players, not to like go into a different thing, but this is something I was meaning to talk about. So I feel like with Smash, it's a lot more dependent on each individual since, for the most part, I feel like it's 1v1s in the competitive scene. I don't know how many times it's like 2v2s. I feel like that's probably not as popular. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like doubles is still like prevalent in like tournament, and they do it for viewership, and it is like respected. Like, oh damn, that's a really good doubles team. But like, yeah, the major breadwinner is definitely like singles 1v1s.
So with like, I don't know how much you know about like tournaments and about how pro players work, but how does like practicing for tournaments go about? Is it just playing online a lot? Are they playing against like the people who are in the tournament, or is it like against even you could play against bots? Because I know that Smash has some pretty good bots in comparison to some other games. But like, what do you think or know about how pro players tend to try to practice for these big tournaments?
It's honestly like completely different for like each player. It's kind of interesting. Like Tweak, like one of my favorite players, he hardcore practices. Like he'll be in the training room trying to lab stuff out. He'll play against people in his region who are really good to get better. And mostly what they do is they don't just play anybody. They look at the tournament, the coming up tournament, and see who all is in there, and they practice those matchups.
Okay.
Like at the top. And then there's people like Wadi, like he is a really good player, but he does not actually like play Smash outside of tournaments at all. Like outside of tournaments, he does not play Smash.
Does he win tournaments?
He does win tournaments. Like he's like actually one of the best online players right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I just found that so interesting. And for bots, I was gonna say like nobody really practices against bots until I thought of Mewtwo King when he first started Melee. Like that was his whole practice. Like he would just play against bots, and that was his whole practice.
Yeah. Well, I heard I might be wrong, but I heard they had pro players try to help them when creating these bots for like the level 9s and stuff, so they could make those bots better. And sometimes bots will like, I don't know, I remember when I would practice in my room, sometimes I'd wipe the floor with a bot, but then it'd be the same character, and they would just like dismantle me, and I'm like, what happened? Why did you just decide to level up? Like it's just a bot. What the hell?
Yeah, honestly, I know exactly how that feels. Over like last summer, and I'm like a little like embarrassed to admit this, but like that's when I was like practicing Sheik and like picking up Sheik.
Yeah. And
I'd play against level 9 bots, and I would just get wrecked when I first started playing Sheik. I'm like, oh my god, like this, I cannot beat this level 9 Donkey Kong.
I was playing Zelda one time when I first got the game, and I would like play in random. I'd put the level 9 bots on random, and I'd just play against the same. Like if I lost, then I'd like play against that character until I beat him. And I just kept losing to King K. Rool on Zelda, and I was like sweating my ass off on the last game where I eventually won. And I just kept using, I think it's her neutral B, where she spins with like a crystal around her to like deflect. But every time I did that, he'd spit it out in the upward trajectory and stuff, and I was just like sweating bullets in those games, and it was just against the freaking bot. It's crazy. Overwatch doesn't really have that. The bots in Overwatch on like the most difficult are, I could probably play with one other player and it would not be a challenge like in the slot. Maybe I could even do it on my own and win a game. I might be sweating a little bit because it's 6 players versus 1, but it's not really much of it. It's not. No, it's not the same.
So how do like pro players on Overwatch practice?
I think it depends on where you are in the scene. So like there's a bunch of different stuff for Overwatch. There's obviously Overwatch League, which is that's the big boy. Then you have Overwatch Contenders, which you could kind of look at it like Overwatch League is football, and Overwatch Contenders is like college football. Okay. And then you got below that, there's there's a lot of path to pro stuff like Overwatch Collegiate, which is it's college kids who like play from their different universities. There's just some other stuff, but for the most part, when you're on an actual team, you scrim, which is just practice matches. You'll scrim against other teams in the league. Sometimes they even do like open scrims where they'll like show that to the public what their stuff is, but for the most part they keep it on the down low. Okay. But so they'll do a lot of scrimming against other teams. Usually it's in the same region. So right now, I guess I could bring this up. Maybe I'll be able to show it off.
One more question for the Overwatch League. Is that like a tournament or what is that?
So the Overwatch League is I might be able to show you here. it's a league of 20 different teams, which all compete, to win the Overwatch League at the end of the year in the grand finals.
Okay.
But along the way, there have been every single year, and there still are around 3 or 4 different tournaments. This year, I think it's the May Melee, which is coming up in May. I think then it's the June Joust, I think is what they called the next one. Then there's the Summer Showdown and the Countdown Cup. So each of these, they have to play qualifying matches, like 4 qualifying matches to get into the tournament. And then there's 2 regions. There's you'll see on the side here it says East and West. So there's teams that are in Asia, and there's teams that are in America. So they're on different time zones, which is why on the website here for games, I don't know if I can find this. Okay, you'll have some teams will be playing at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., but then you'll have 4 a.m., 5:30 a.m.,
okay.
and that's because they're in a different time zone.
Okay.
So those teams will practice against the other teams in the same time zone, and they'll also practice sometimes against contenders teams, because it's weird, but a lot of times, and I don't know if they don't really have teams of stuff in Smash, I'd assume, but sometimes the contenders, that tier 2 kind of scene will have teams that are just as good as the Overwatch League teams.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But there's only 20 of them, and you have to be 18, and sometimes you'll have these 17-year-old kids who will just be fragging in contenders, just waiting to get their chance to get in, but they have to be 18. But for the most part, pro players will play against each other, especially in competitive. Even players who could be pro, or players who are in the top 500, which is the top 500 players in the region. So there's North America, Asia, and Europe. So there's probably top 1,500. Each has a top 500 section.
Okay.
But those players will play against each other in competitive, and that's how they practice there. But in the league and contenders and those kinds of actual structured stuff, they'll play against each other for the most part.
Okay. All right. So it's more so pro teams play pro teams on the down low.
And that's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, where the people pick and choose. I mean, you might not get any actual value out of playing against some really low level team, or if you're a Smash player, I'm not going to play against some random person who might not if you just dunk on someone all the time when you're trying to practice for a tournament. How good is that really? Unless it's someone who's actually going to be in the tournament and they're really good and you're dunking on them, well, that's probably a good sign.
That's a good sign.
But if it's just randos, I mean, you're not going to get much out of that.
Yeah, I think there is art to making your practice count when you are playing against lower level players. Because I mean it's kind of hard. You're never gonna get the perfect training partner. You're never gonna get okay, same level as me or just a bit higher than me, which would be optimal to practice against. You're never gonna choose that. So I think you just kind of have to make the best of what you have. So if you are playing against a person you can beat, right? Don't do your your normal play style, your blueprint. Try different things out, try different combo routes out.
Yeah.
Try different approach options, and see if it works. If it doesn't, it.
And I remember we had a mock tournament. I think it was the third one, because we had that practice one, and then the one, the big one, and then we had another one online that we just decided to do one night.
Yo.
You had, I think, a friend you invited in. I can't remember his name,
Ryan.
but he ended up knocking you down into the losers bracket, and you were just trying some stuff out. And it's kind of like that, where I mean, you could just play, and you did later on in the tournament, just play, your regular style, and you ended up beating him, but you did some wackier stuff in that first match, and that's good. Sometimes you just got to try some stuff, because it's great to play different characters you don't play that often, especially when you could win on something. It's maybe I should just try something new and get better at it, or understand it at the very least.
Yeah, that's a definite thing I've been trying to do. Is I've been trying to play Sheik or Diddy Kong, who I feel can be good. I feel the reason my Link is a lot better than my other characters is because I've entered tournaments with him, and just a couple of tournaments, so you wouldn't think it's that big. It would boost it up a lot, but I don't. It's something about tournaments that just it's like such good practice. If for improvement, tournaments are just amazing. Like,
Oh yeah,
room
for
for
sure.
growth. And I've like always entered the most tournaments with Link. So I've been slowly trying to, okay, I'm like, let me play Diddy Kong in this tournament or Sheik in this tournament. Just get them better.
No, yeah, and it's yeah, I did see you doing some of that stuff when we did that like third mock tournament. You played just like only Diddy for the most part, and that was like wild to me. I'm like, wow, he's not even pulling out his like what I would assume is your main with the Link, which you're most comfortable on, and sometimes just good practice to just play some different stuff. A lot of the times, I'm a tank player in Overwatch for the most part. If anyone was wondering, so these are the tank characters, and I'm a main tank. So in Overwatch, there's like heavies and lightweights and that kind of stuff. So like when I played Smash, I was like, oh, I'd probably play heavies because I like Piranha Plant and I like Bowser a lot, and they just kind of felt the most natural to me. Well, that's the same thing with tanks, but in Overwatch there's an even like different classification. So there's like a layer to the layer where there's main tanks, which are the people who provide. They make space and they provide like shields because in Overwatch there's literally shielding. So you got characters like Reinhardt or Orisa, Winston, Sigma to an extent, and Wrecking Ball to an extent. People flex onto, and I'll play those characters. Primarily, I'm a Reinhardt, Winston, and I actually do play Zarya, which is considered an off tank role. But I'll play those games, and sometimes I'll play on quick play, and I'll just flex over to something I don't play a lot. Like I don't play a ton of Orisa, so I'll just play an entire game through Orisa, and I'm like, I know I could have won if I swapped over to Reinhardt or if I swapped over to Winston and just pulled out that pocket pick, but sometimes you just got to practice more. And I'm like, maybe this was better. Maybe I was the reason we lost, but at the very least, I got a little bit better by playing this character.
And I feel like you playing different characters that you don't play, you'll get a better understanding of the game as a whole.
Oh, yeah, that's... I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it is for Smash because there's 70 characters, so trying to get like a good understanding of each one, I feel like is really difficult, especially like there's a difference between understanding how to counter someone, I feel, and understanding how to play that character and what kind of mindset you're in for that.
Definitely. Like that's a really good point. Like when you think about how to counter somebody, you can just what people just think is like they're very like they're simple weaknesses, that's like right out, right? So like say like Donkey Kong, right? He suffers heavily. He's like combo food. Like that's just something everybody knows. But when you play Donkey Kong, you'll be able to when you play Donkey Kong for a good while and get an idea of Donkey Kong, and you're playing against a Donkey Kong, now you're able to like take that understanding to a whole different level. You can know like what that Donkey Kong's looking for at what percents. When does he want to grab you? When does he want to do this certain combo?
Yeah, and that's a great point because there was a question I wrote that I really wanted to ask about, which is, let me see if I can find it here. So, there's a lot of different parts, and this is probably going to be a layered question where you'll be like, it's so-so for both of them. But with Smash, would you say it's more about, like, prediction, or is it more, like, are you going to get further by understanding the opponent, like, predicting their moves, or can you just like ride with game mechanics and just destroy the opponent without really having to think about what their next move is going to be? Like, would you say those are both equally important, or do you think one of them trumps the other one? Because I think in Overwatch you can get pretty far with good game mechanics, but having an understanding and predicting what's going to happen and just really getting what compositions do can get you probably a little bit farther than just being able to pound on mechanics alone.
Yeah, that's like that's an interesting thing. And like in Overwatch, I'd imagine like just like game mechanics, like solid game mechanics, that's like a really good thing. But I feel like if you have an awareness of like what is happening on the entire like battlefield, your team, their team, who's pushing, who's pulling back, who's like spawning back in. When you get like a understanding of that, like a high level understanding of that, I think that like and again, like I don't know much about Overwatch, but I just imagine it'd be something like that.
No, and I think I set the question up because I think it's obvious that it's both. But it's interesting because like there will be players in Overwatch. Like I mean, I might list off some names here for anyone who actually watches it. To you, they're not going to mean anything. But players like Decay, players like Prophet, or in the past last year, Ons, who would play the DPS roles like Widowmaker, and they would just pound. They would absolutely just and they Decay and Prophet are still in, so On's retired. But like sometimes they'll just take the game and they'll rein it in, and they'll just, absolutely decimate the opponent. And that's a moment where it's like game mechanics all the way. The fight got scrappy, because for the most part Overwatch is like a calculated thing. You make moves as a team, you do things that are very coordinated, and that's how you're going to win. But sometimes it'll get scrappy, and then someone's mechanics are really gonna matter, and they'll just take the game by storm, and they'll take over. But there's also times where those same players who have amazing mechanics will make a blunder where they don't think about something. They maybe get too eager and they push a corner that they shouldn't have, and they get picked for it. They get taken out, and that's where game sense, sometimes it's really you could be doing so well on a character, but if you're not thinking about the game when you do it, and you're just making moves based off of only one side of the story, you might just screw yourself over. And that's like, it's all a balance, because obviously you could have the most game sense in the world, but if your mechanics are shit, how far is that going to get you?
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, I think in Smash, what you value more, either game sense or just like raw like game mechanics, frame data, like just knowing like the numbers of everything. I think it depends on who you are as a person, because I'll give you like an example in like Melee, right? There's this term in Melee called the Five Gods, and this was basically like, I think like a couple year long span, I think like 7 years, where they're not 7 years, I think less than 7 years, but it was years long span, right?
Sure.
Of every single tournament was being won by the same like 5 people, and that's why they're called like the Five Gods. And 2 of the gods are Mango and Mewtwo King, right? And like they're completely different people. Mewtwo King is like the basement nerd, he just like cranks out all the numbers. He's the one who actually figured out all the frame data first and just gave that out to the community.
Wow.
He is like knows like everything about the game Melee, and so he's like, he knows like all the game mechanics. He implements it into his game plan so well. He knows like all the frame data, the numbers, jump squats, startup frames, and lag, everything, right?
Yeah.
And he's like an amazing player, right? One of the Five Gods. And then you have Mango, who's like the exact opposite. Like, he does not give a flying fuck about frame data, and he goes off like pure just feel, right? Like when you feel like the moves to end. And he is an amazing player in his own right. So I think play to your strengths. Like, if you need both of them, like, right? I feel you need both of them, definitely.
Yeah.
But who you are as a person more and how you like to play, you should specialize in. Like, if you think your game mechanics are strong, then go all the way in game mechanics. And if you think your like just game sense in general is strong, then practice that game sense more. Develop it to a higher level. Yeah,
no, that's a great bit of thought there, that you should play your own strengths. I don't really think about it, but in Overwatch there's abilities that have a certain amount of time between using them. I mean, you've played a bit of Overwatch, so but when I play, and I never mentioned this earlier, that I'm a Diamond Masters player around that area. I've been meaning to get into competitive, like really grind it out to see what my heights are, but I haven't had the time, and each competitive match in Overwatch is like a half an hour or more, so it's like, oh god, to be able to do that and like grind that out, it's going to take like a day or 2 days and stuff just to like place, and then I'm going to have to keep going to see like where I can get to. But I digress. A lot of the time for me, when I play with like a group of friends, I will call that something's going to happen. I'll be like, she's going to grab. Like, watch out for that grab. It's going to happen right now. And it will. And I like, there's no reason that I know that, other than I've just played the game for so long that like internally it works out. Or like, I'll play against the Roadhog and he'll hook, and like I'll know when his hook's gonna come up, even though I don't really know what number. Like I don't remember what the how many seconds it is between his hooks, but I feel it out. I'm like, okay, he's gonna hook now because he's gonna have it back or on them, and for the most part, sometimes you screw up on like. Even if I did know the numbers, sometimes things happen that you don't see. Like, Overwatch is based on ult charge, so how much damage you do to an opponent will make your ult gain faster, and ultimates are a huge thing in Overwatch. It's just a bigger ability that's going to turn the tide of the fight. Sometimes you think you have an idea as to where someone's at in an ult, but maybe they killed 3 people and you didn't see that. Or maybe they got like an ability off that just did shit ton of damage, you didn't catch that. So then your perception of where they are is like lagged behind, and then you won't play accordingly. But so maybe that's where some of those, like, number value things would come in handy, or being able to finish someone off with a certain ability because that it's going to do X amount of damage is really important in certain scenarios. But for me at least, I've always been able to, when I need to, I've just been able to feel out certain things. I'll have an idea as to when they're going to happen just off of playing for. I've played since beta, so not that I'm saying I'm a great player or anything, but I have an idea for a lot of those kinds of things that just in my, it's just muscle memory or brain sense.
He is a great player from my amateur opinion of barely not knowing anything about the game, but from that opinion, he is a great player. I've seen him.
Yeah, and I didn't really talk about it earlier, but we were talking about certain things with tournaments and stuff. Are there so there's a bunch of tournaments for Smash, right? They're all kind of, I'm not sure if they're all locally hosted or there's what is it, Smash and Splash?
Smash and Splash.
Yeah, but there's privately hosted tournaments and stuff. Would you say there's a lot of upsets that you don't think are going to happen between certain players, or is it always kind of the same certain people that are riding on the top?
Up on top. So at majors, so that's there's circuits, there's majors like Smash and Splash or Evo, the super big majors, top 8 will more so around always be the same players you expect, because at that level they're playing at such a they're playing at the best of the best. So there's not honestly much room for upsets at that. Maybe top 32 you can have some upsets, but top 8 there's in my what I viewed is there's barely any upsets. Locals are basically just smallly hosted in your region, and that's basically that's the livelihood of the community, that's what keeps the community going. There you can have upsets because there's just local, it's mid high level players. You can have the first seed be really good, and then this dude comes from nowhere who just moved and they're just upsets,
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing to me because I've been watching the Overwatch League since it started, so it's on its 4th year now, and it's seen so much stuff and so many changes. But because it's a team-based game and there's players, you'll have the people. There'll be people in the game who are consistently gonna be at that top level, for the most part. They're gonna stay in the game no matter where they go. If they change teams or anything, they're always gonna be great. But the teams themselves will go through major changes. I can go on to the Overwatch League itself, and I'll go on to, the teams here, and you got 20 teams, and maybe I can give you a better example, because I know you don't know much about this kind of stuff since you haven't watched them, but if I go into the 2019, wait, what?
Yeah, so I never knew there was a set amount of teams in the league.
Oh crap, well, we're going to have a little problem here. I think there was 12 in the inaugural season back in 2018. Only 12 teams, and then they added 8 more in their second season, and they've kept it at 20 ever since. But you can look at this right now, that there's all these changes. This is their active roster for this current year. Last year they had these 4 players on their team, and some of these newer ones weren't on there. In the previous year, they had, all these different players on their roster.
Oh, okay.
And, we go down to some of this stuff. Back in 2019, they finished the first, there's different stages. So there's 4 stages. They play, a certain amount of matches each stage, and then they have a little tournament for the end of the stage. They kind of have that going on right now. But back in 2019, Vancouver Titans, which is one of these teams, they were first. They won the stage 1. They got second in stage 2, third and fourth in stage 3. There wasn't a tournament for stage 4, but they finished first in it in the regular season, and then they got to the grand finals in second place. So wow, that's a pretty amazing stacked thing. You go to the next season, 13th, 8th, 12th, 18th, 13th. And they're just because their entire roster, which was all these different players, just imploded. So you see new team, New York Excelsior, Hangzhou Spark, Washington Justice, Seoul Dynasty, San Francisco Shock. All these different players went to different places. And in the world of Overwatch, the top is always changing. You know, there's certain teams that are gonna stay up there because they have really good coaching, and I know coaching isn't as huge of a thing in Smash. It's kind of players just. I know some players have coaches, right? Like
yeah, like a lot of pro players have coaches. You just can't have in-game coaching.
Okay, yeah, I think in Overwatch League how it works is during like halftime or maybe between maps they can have their coaches will give them, they'll give them a little pep talk and talk to them for a little bit, but you can't, obviously they don't have them in their ear telling them what's going on, because it's, if there's, you see a player hiding or something, your coach can't be like, yo, there's someone hiding in the corner. But Overwatch is such a weird thing because all these pro players, some of them will like drop out of the scene, and some of them, even those like top players who are consistently good will switch teams, and then now you got a new team that's got a different fire to it. Washington Justice is one of the teams last season, and actually the past two, pretty much ever since they were created in the second and third season, they've been shit. This year they get all these big name players, and now people are looking at them like fourth, fifth best team in the league, and it's like it's interesting to me that for Smash you have in these majors you have kind of like the same top 8 people are always going to be in there. But in Overwatch, you might have some of the same players making their team run farther, but it's not always going to be the same team. Yeah. Yeah,
that's the really interesting thing. Like that, like the top is changing so much because players are moving from team to team. Or like that's like super interesting. So like with you, do you like I know I have like my like favorite players. So do you have like a favorite like team, or are you also on favorite players?
No, I have favorite players, but for me, Philadelphia Fusion's my favorite team. They've been my favorite team. Well, it used to be New York Excelsior back when it started, but then I kind of slowly transitioned to Philly, and now I'm like a hardcore Philly sim.
Phillies fan.
Yeah, I mean, I got up 2 days in a row now at 7 a.m. to watch both their matches. I wouldn't do that for many teams. I like the LA Gladiators too. It's they're probably my second favorite team. But I mean, for the most part, and I'm sure you can relate to this, but I just like watching the game. I just like. And this is a good transition to improvement. But something for me that I didn't expect would actually make me better at the game was watching the pro players. It's such a weird thought to me that back in like 2019 when I would watch, I think I really was just like a viewer. I just watched and I get hyped for it and stuff. But now when I watch, like ever since I've started really like not even just watching the games, but I'll watch like an analyst or like someone who's part of the scene. They'll like deconstruct plays in the game. So now when I'm watching the match, I'll know what the pro players are going to do for the most part. And then when they do it, I'll be like, oh shit, they have to do this and this. Like, for instance, this might not mean a lot to you, but there's an ultimate in the game called Blizzard. May has it, the Chinese girl. Yeah. Around you. And today in a match, there was Diva, which is the mech.
Yep.
She can eat that ability. And one team was on their last push on a map, and I'm like, yo, this other team has May ult, they have McCree ult. The only way that this one team is gonna win is if this player eats the May ult. That's the only way they're gonna win, if they eat the Blizzard. And then that player did that, and then the team won because like off of that play and then like a bunch of other stuff. And it's just like when I understand it on much of a deeper level, I can apply that same kind of stuff to my matches. And I never really thought that was gonna like actually like I'm like, yeah, you can watch, but you have to really play to get that. But I think my understanding is really elevated just by simply like watching these pro players. Would you say the same thing for you?
I like 100% have to agree. Like I think like the only difference between us is you said you like started out as a viewer. I actually I started like watching like pro matches like religiously after like I wanted to become better and like I was on the path to like improvement. But yeah, I would definitely 100% say it's the same for me. Like watching VODs from professional players that play your characters, it expands like your mind to the possible like of what that character can do. And I think it's like a sticky road. You don't want to just for like me personally, I never want to just like see a professional player and just like copy paste what he's doing. I want to kind of like just understand what he's doing, why it's working or not working, and then implement those like factors into my play style, and make it like my own play style at that point.
No, yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna put put a graphic up on the screen for some people to watch. We can probably switch this to Smash in a bit, but there's a lot of like there's a lot of things that I'll see that I just can't do, and it's because Overwatch is a team-based game, so there's a lot of like micro plays that they'll make as a team that I'm like, well, I can't practice this. How am I gonna practice this?
Yeah.
I don't have a bunch of me that I can practice around with. It's not like I can have a sit down with a team and say, okay, guys, we're gonna try this because I want to get better at this thing. But there's these like micro plays that a player will make where I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. This is another thing I'd like to talk about because it's different, but I feel like it's the same. That positioning is a huge thing in both these games. It's a different sense for each of them, but like I know that different maps in Smash have like platforms and different kinds of platforms. And how does like positioning in Smash like impact a player? Like you're looking at like a pro player versus like maybe someone who's high tier, but they just don't bridge that gap. Like how do you think maybe positioning has a play in those kinds of things?
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting topic because
don't mind me.
No way. In traditional fighting games, positioning isn't like 2D fighters, like Street Fighter, Injustice, or like whatever, Mortal Kombat. Its positioning isn't as important. Like being backed up in the corner is like the worst, but besides that, anywhere else on the map is basically like you're getting the same stuff, right? But in Smash, like it's like a whole different formula, and in Smash, like positioning is like one of the most important things at top level. Which is why movement is so like hailed, because you can get to different positions quickly.
It's considered a not to digress, but it's considered a platform fighter, right?
Yep.
So it's like its own little brand. I'm not even sure if there are any like other types of fighting games that are like that. Are there? Can you
There's like Rivals of Aether. I don't know. It's AETHER. And there's Brawlhalla, which those are similar. They came like after Smash. I think Smash was like the first one to do that.
Yeah.
Sakurai, thank you.
Dude, shit, I don't know what, like, Nintendo, it's crazy, dude. Like, the juggernaut kinds of games they'll make. Like, we want to make, the best platforming series probably in the world. We just made Mario. We want to make, one of the best action games or action adventure games. Boom, Zelda. And we can just change it however we want. And then it's like, we want to make a cool fighting game that's unique to any other fighting game out there. Smash Bros.
It's so insane, yeah. They are just so creative and like a lot of great, like just a lot of talent at Nintendo, like its devs and like just like the designers in general.
No, yeah, for sure. And Smash is just, it's such a unique game with, I mean, there's so many reasons it's unique, but I feel like having those platforms, like you'll have maps like what is called Final Destination, where I feel like I would always I'd have a little bit better of an understanding because I don't have to think about platforms and stuff, but there's so many moves that can, maybe they can go through a platform and you have to really be cautious of that.
Yep.
Or like with Hero, I know that there's one of his moves where like he'll jump up and he'll land down on the other side. You can zoom. Land on zoom. You can like land on a platform and then that can change it. That's and like certain characters probably work better with like 2 platforms, but others work better with 3, right?
It's like. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah.
No, that was pretty much the end of it.
Okay. Yeah, it's like insane. Like platforms, how much they can change it. It can like kill confirms can be platform dependent, and just positioning in this like counter picking stages with and without platforms. Like Mario, you never want to take him to Yoshi's story because they'll just ladder combo you off those platforms. Battlefield 2. But yeah, platforms is like I feel like the second most important thing when it comes to positioning. I think center stage is like the most important, because when you have center stage, you basically you have unlimited options. You can do whatever you want and like what your character can do. But when you get backed up into the edge of the stage, you can't be dashing back. Your options are much more limited, and that's just a whole nother layer of the game, and you can go on.
And I mean, like even in Overwatch, I could run you through like this little game that I have going on. There's like every map has different things. There's not really, I think the most universal thing for Overwatch is what's people just call high ground. Like certain maps will have high ground. There's not really on the map run right now. It's not really a thing. You can't really point to it. But having an advantage over your opponent like positionally speaking, allows you to kind of control the tempo. Like in Overwatch, you'll be above your opponent, and maybe they have to put the cart underneath you. So you could play on the ground where the cart is, and you guys would kind of have like a brawl. But if you play above and they have to push this cart, you can drop onto them, and you control when you engage, and you control when you do certain things, and they kind of have to react to you, or they have to push onto the high ground, which gives you a lot of time to decide what you want to do. You know, you're putting. You're
controlling the pace of the game.
Yeah, you're asking a question to the opponent. You're saying, how are you going to deal with this?
Okay.
And I feel like that's probably there in Smash too. Like, how are you going to deal with me? Like, I'm going to put you in this position, and you're going to have to figure your way out of it, or I'm going to boom you.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's like something so cool you can do in both games. You can like mixing up is important, like we said earlier. But unless the opponent's going to do something about it, you don't even need to mix up. You can always just do the same exact thing. And if they're not, like say you're on ledge and you always jump from ledge, right? And it's terrible to pick the same ledge option every time. But if they're not going to do anything about it, like what's stopping you, you know? Like,
yeah.
And that's what, that I like how you said that, like you're going to ask the opponent a question. You're like, I'm going to do this, like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I mean, in this game right now, we were talking about metas earlier, and I know it's a little cut off. Maybe I should turn on this one. There we go. That's a little bad. But, you know, there's this character called Doomfist. He's being played by Sparkle and by Mirror right now. He's not really meta. Like, you're not going to see a bunch of teams be playing him because it's not, like, as good of a pick. But some of these people who play him are so good. It's like, I'm going to play this character. What are you going to do about it? Like, I'm going to make this character work because I'm that good at it. I'm going to force you into a corner with, like, positioning, or I'm going to use my abilities really well. How are you going to respond? And the team has to, you know, they either got to clutch up or, you know, get out.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how you can just, like, there's so many micro things that you can do in games, like, where you can choose your characters. And I don't know if, like, switching to counter a character between, like, you can't, obviously in Smash, unlike Overwatch, you can't swap a character mid-match.
Mid-game, yeah.
So is it, like, super common to just, you know, counter pick a character? Because I know it's, when you guys played in the mock tournament, it was, I don't remember which one got to pick their character first, if it was the winning side had to pick their character. Like, if you won the last match, you had to, or map, you had to pick your character first so that they could counter pick you.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Like, winner can change their character, but you have to tell them first. Like, basically, you just tell them. So say, like, you won the game one, right? So you would pick your character, and then the opponent can counter pick.
Is counter picking, like, a big thing in Smash, or is it, like, there's the best characters, and then they're gonna, maybe if you pick like a mid-tier or a lower tier character, you know, according to the competitive or according to, like, you know, community, that they'll pick a character to counter that specific one? Like, are there certain characters that are just so good that you can't counter pick them, or how does it work in Smash?
Yeah, counter picking is like a really, like, really deep topic in Smash, because it's like, again, like we said, 80 characters, right? Each have their own play style, each have their unique matchup charts. It's like, honestly, a headache, like, you know.
Yeah, no, I would imagine.
But it mostly depends on, again, like, I'm glad you said that, like, are their characters so strong that, like, you can't even counterpick them, really? And to some extent, there's characters who have a lot fewer losing matchups, and that basically makes, like, the top tier. So that would be, like, your Wolves, your Jokers, Palutena, you know, like, those are, like, top tier characters who, they still have losing matchups, right, that you can counterpick, but they just have such fewer losing matchups than, like, everyone else. And when it comes to counterpicking, it more so depends on the player. So top players, some will solo main characters, and they just stick with that character. They don't counterpick, you know. And then there's other characters, like other players, like Tweak or, like, Zachary. Zachary is, like, the best Japanese player.
Okay.
And he plays, like, 6 characters. He plays so many characters, and he'll pull out, like, 6 different characters in one tournament. Like, Tweak, he'll pull out, like, 4 different characters. For example, like, Tweak was playing against Mars. Like, at the time he was playing Pokemon Trainer. And Mars, who's, like, a really good player. I think he is, like, number 6 on the PGR, or number 7. Some are super high, right? Both these players are, like, top 10 PGR ranked.
Yeah.
Mars is playing Zero Suit Samus, and that's, like, Mars's main. And Tweak actually counter picks to Roy, because Roy does against Zero Suit, and PT doesn't as well. And he actually wins that set just from that counter pick. So it depends on different players, like, if you're comfortable counter picking, and it also depends on the matchup in itself. How you feel?
Yeah, no, and that's something that's in Overwatch a lot too. Like there's metas, right? Where there's characters that are gonna be the best, and also it's like there's a layer. Well, there's a bunch of layers to it. Like there is in Smash. There's a shit ton of layers, but from like a very broad perspective, there's gonna be characters that in a certain meta just work better because of buffs or just because that's just the understanding of it. But at the same time, there's going to be maps where that meta doesn't work, so you can't really play it because if you do, there might just be a better meta. Like if there's like a map like this map is called Rush that's being looked at right now. It's playing with a bunch of characters who work well near corners where there's not like as much high ground because you can just spam, or you can just do a lot of damage when you play like really fast and really close. Maybe you play on a map where there's a lot of high ground and they can't like get to that area, so now you can't play this comp. But at the same time, sometimes there's going to be players who will just pick up something that they're really good at, and it's not meta, and it doesn't matter, but they'll do it, and it's not like even really a counter comp. It's just kind of like I want to play this character, and I'm good enough to make the difference, like we were talking about earlier. But even then, like, sometimes like, sometimes it'll work, and sometimes it won't. Like, even if you're really great at a character, sometimes it's just a character is going to, like you said, just have a better matchup. It's not going to be as vulnerable. And I can't remember what I was going to say. I remember in that mock tournament that Dylan played a bit of his Little Mac, and when he got into the semi or the finals of the losers bracket, he was counted pretty heavily by like Min. And so do you see like a lot of, because I think Steven started off on Pokemon trainer and then he went to the Min because maybe he like lost one or something. Do you see like a lot, you were talking about it earlier, but like a lot of one person will swap to counter and they'll win, and then this person will swap to counter that and then they'll win, and then swap back and forth and back? Or is it for the most part like they'll just stick with a couple? I know you said like one person pulled out like six characters. Yeah.
That's again.
Is that like an extreme example, or is that just okay?
That like never happens. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say actually something maybe I should have asked this more. Do you see a lot of mirror matching? Because in Overwatch, like, so a meta will be really good, right? So like you can look at this. There's gonna be a lot of characters that are the same. Like you got Reinhardt. I would say Diva, but I guess he's not playing Diva. Lucio, actually this is not the best example, but let's say it was the best example. A lot of teams right now are playing like Ryan, Diva, Lucio, Baptiste, McCree, and May, and both teams will just play that because it's the best thing, and they'll both like mirror. Does that happen a lot in Smash? Do people just play the same character against each other, or do they just play like whatever they're good at?
It's so that happens more so at like my level and like lower level play, whereas like people will pick like top tiers, right? Top tier characters, and like in that sense there'll be mirror matches, or when like DLC drops there'll be a lot of mirror matches. Okay. But at the top levels, and I thought it would be a lot of mirror matches because there's only like 5 I thought everybody would be playing like the top 5 characters, right? But this is actually like surprisingly not. Like I can run through like the top 10. So like the number 1 player, MK Leo, he plays Joker, right? He mains Joker. Number 2, Samsora, he plays Peach. Number 3, Tweet plays like a ton. Like he cycles through a lot of characters. Right now he's playing like Sephiroth and Diddy. Who's after that? I think I think it's Mars. He plays Zero Suit Samus. So like it's honestly not a lot of mirrors. Now what ends up happening is people have a lot of pocket mirrors, like where they have pockets are more common. So like a lot of people have a pocket Wolf, that's very common, or a pocket Palutena. But as far as like mains go at the top level, it's actually quite like it's a lot more different characters. Meister plays like Game and Watch,
Okay, yeah, because I know you guys will have your mains, and for the most part, when I see you guys play, you'll stick to like those mains, but then you also have the pocket picks. So if I'm getting this right, people will play their mains a lot. There's like a lot of diversity, but sometimes maybe like their pocket picks will like line up for a counter, so then they'll swap to that. Is that kind of like what happens?
Yeah,
or is it
more so at top level, like pocket picks line up where you see like a lot of the same pockets, but pocket picks are more so like to
mix it up
and kind of make up for your character's weaknesses. So if like your character has these bad matchups, okay, let's look at those characters and who do they do bad against, right?
Okay.
And then you would take that into account and also take into account who do you like enjoy playing and like who are you good at.
And something just player wise that I wanted to bring up, because it's a bigger thing in Overwatch than it is in Smash, and this is going more back to the actual players themselves rather than like the matchups and stuff, because I feel like we've been talking about matchups for a while, as much as it is super interesting. But so how I was talking about how there's six players on a team for Overwatch that can be played at a time. Well, a lot of teams don't just have 6 players. They have their tank, their DPS, and their supports, but they'll maybe have so it's in the game it's 2-2-2. So you have to have, at any given time, you have to have 2 tanks on the field, 2 DPS in the field, and 2 supports in the field. But just like how in Smash you're gonna have players who have like characters they're really good at, and they'll have like those pocket picks. The same thing is in Overwatch. There's gonna be players who have, they specify at things, because in Overwatch you kind of want to have there's hit scans who deal like instant damage, and there's projectiles who have abilities that like take time to hit. Like an arrow would fly through the air before it hits, but like a bullet is instant and it'll hit the opponent. And
so like Hanzo's bow would like take some time.
Yeah, so that'd be like a flex player might play Hanzo, and a hit scan player might play like a Widow. So people have different I'm getting to the point, don't worry. But they'll have different pools. And sometimes in a game, someone will be swapped in to play, and they'll lose, whenever they're swapped in, or they'll try to play on their main character or their main hero, and they'll just get boomed, and then they'll really just like shut down in the match. Like they'll get destroyed on what they think they're really good at, and they'll just like crumble, and you can tell when they're playing that they're not working. Like, does that happen? Does it happen to you before, where you'll play like your Link and you'll just get shut down, and then you feel like it's just like from there, you played your best one and it just didn't work, and like you still have a lot more in the match, but you just collapse? Does it happen in the community a lot, where you'll see it like happen where a player will just collapse?
That happened like I think like Smash community in general, they have like 2 major mindsets. Either they in terms of facing adversity and defeat, they have like 2 major mindsets. Either they get like super mad, right, and they tend to like more so like and it's okay to get angry, like completely okay, but there's a difference between like getting angry, right, and then not doing anything about it. Because like I feel like how I look at it, and I look at it like getting angry is perfectly normal, but what are you gonna do about it, right? Like getting angry is like the easy part. The hard thing is, okay, now what am I gonna do about it? And that gives motivation. And then there's some people who just like get down on themselves, like very like self-critical. And I think I lean more towards that, like more so self-critical towards. Yeah, I think when you do lose, like for me personally, when I first started doing Wi-Fi tournaments, I played some really good people, like as I like progressed in the tournament. And I remember blatantly, I was playing this one Ike, right? And I like was playing Link, and this Ike just like completely destroyed me game 1, right? I'm like, oh my god. And then I like, so after that game I was like, okay, I lost this set, which is bad mindset to have, even if the other player's better than you. Bad mindset to have. Like he just fucking wiped the floor with me. So then I was like, oh fuck it, let me just try Diddy, right? Let me try Diddy Kong. And then I got like destroyed with that. But I was already going into that second game like, oh my god, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. So yeah, like to answer your question, there are mindsets like that do like just crumble.
Yeah, in Overwatch, it'll suck too, because so you're gonna have people you call them like starters, and that's something that happens in all sports. You'll have the starter positions, and then you have like your backups and stuff, and you'll pull out someone for like a map who's usually not a starter, and then when they lose that map, like the amount of confidence you're gonna lose if you play like a match, and so like in Overwatch, matches are best of 3 unless they're in like the finals, and then they're best of 4. I'm sorry, best of 5. Or I'm sorry, in matches it's first to 3, and then in finals it's first to 4.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how many maps there are, so long as you get to the number 3, or in the finals you get to the number 4. So like you could draw a billion times, but until someone gets to 4, it doesn't matter. Or until 3, depending on the match. But so like you can imagine when your team, maybe they're down 0-2 and they sub you in, or maybe like in the first map you were subbed in, and you guys lose that map, and then you guys go on, and then you get subbed out, and that's the only map you played, and then you guys go on to have a really close game, or like a really close set, and you lose like 3-2, and you're like, damn it, if they didn't play me,
Then,
like, was I the fucking reason that we lost this? Like, they sub me in, and we lose that map, and then we eventually go on to lose the set. Like, that kind of boomage in your mind where it's like, I'm, like, I don't know, I haven't experienced it because I haven't played competitively, and I haven't been on a roster where I've been inactive, or not inactive, but I've been, like, the backup. But there's definitely some times where, I'll be playing a game, and I'll be getting, they'll be playing main tank against me, and then I'll be like, damn, it's a main tank difference right now, and I'll get a little bit in my head, and I'll get boomed a little bit, and I'll think, I'm just not as good as this person. But it's a really hard mindset, especially in Overwatch, because I think it's in Smash, you don't have anyone to lean on, which is nice in Overwatch, because sometimes when I'm not playing as good, my team will carry me. But at the same time, it's a lot easier, and I think this is the general maybe for a lot of people, it's their opinion that when they lose a match, they might not look at themselves as the problem. They might look at everyone else on their team. Mm-hmm. I sometimes adapt this mindset when I play with a character that I think is bad. And maybe I'm right. Maybe the character didn't work with the composition, but I really think it's like, what are you going to gain from just shitting on this one person? Like, at some point, you gotta realize that if you were the best, you might have won that match. Mm-hmm. Maybe you weren't, and that's high standards for yourself. But it's like you're not gonna get anything out of always complaining about one person. Yeah. Maybe that was the reason, and that's not really, you can't do that in Smash because it's all on you. But maybe it's like, oh, maybe my character wasn't this good. I didn't play, my pocket as well. But you shouldn't blame the game. I feel like some people would be like, oh, that ability is so stupid, or that circumstance was so dumb. And it's like, well, yeah, but you guys have the same odds here. You can both play the same things.
Yep. I've been glad you brought that up, because that's another I think that's a major. I think this topic can stem into so many different directions. So I'm gonna try and keep it concise.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk in terms of improvement first, because we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
And I think the number one thing you can do to stunt your growth is to blame external factors. Even if it's not fully your fault, right? I still think you should, to some extent, blame yourself. Look in, because there's always things you could have done better, no matter how dumb that character is, or how dumb that game played out, or jank stuff came. If something janky did happen, and that sucks, right? But it's not like you were playing perfectly or fully optimized the rest of the game, right? So there's always things you can look at into yourself, and when you look at that, you can improve so much faster and so much better. And that's what I was kind of wondering. For you, I was gonna ask you in Overwatch. For me, that's been my saving grace. I've always been able to look at myself, what did I do wrong here, where was I getting greedy, stuff like that, and I can blame myself, right? And that makes me a better player in turn. How do Overwatch players do that to some extent? Because I feel it's so hard to improve in a team based game where there's 5 other players. Yes, you can blame yourself with the single things you said, but I'm just curious onto how do Overwatch players when they're practicing by themselves, it's really easy to say okay, look at yourself in Smash, because again it's a 1v1, right? How do you do that in Overwatch? What do you do?
It's a layered question. I'd like to say that for the main part, I have attempted and I don't actually think I even do it anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever blame the game itself for something. I might blame a choice from someone, and even blaming people I don't even like doing. I don't do it right away. Mm-hmm. Maybe I play 10 matches and I'm so sick of playing with Mercy. You pick Mercy again and I'm gonna break your kneecaps. but for the most part, I don't blame the game, because I'm a big fan of the idea that they have the same tools as I do. Mm-hmm. They're up against the same odds as me. So if you it's oh, Mei is such a I hate when people say they're such a broken character, especially when you're playing the role. People say, oh, Widow's such a broken character. I'm no, she's not, because if she was, anyone could play her.
Yep.
But you can't play her because she requires a lot of skill to use. Or maybe you're. I'm not. And by saying you can't play her, it's not like I'm trying to attack that person.
Mm-hmm.
But just don't call someone a broken character, because even if they are broken, yeah, maybe the game should fix that. But if they're broken, play the character, right? Like, I mean, hopefully the game fixes it if they're broken. But you can't blame a broken character, and still, you know, not play them because you're not good at them. Because if a character's truly broken, like beyond belief, where they're the best there is and there's no debate about it, like, why would you play anything else?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to get that out of my mind at first. But I've done some VOD reviews on my own videos. Overwatch has this cool ability where you can go and you can watch the replay of your match, and you can like look at different perspectives and things. One big thing for me that I've been trying to work on really well is my positioning, especially when it comes to, like, when I'm playing Reinhardt, how I manage certain abilities and stuff. I'm trying to focus on, like, how I can do the best job that I think is possible for me, because obviously there's not going to be every single situation where your team's going to be playing perfectly with you, but, like...
Are you doing the right thing?
Am I making the right call? Sometimes I'll see people do things where I genuinely... Or, like, maybe I'll see myself do something in a replay where I'm like, I don't get the play here. You're not considering, like, maybe I'll make a flank to kill someone, and maybe I even do it, but then I die, and I'm like, was that the best choice? Because maybe I was a really valuable player in that, you know, specific scenario, and now I've killed myself. Like, am I getting tunnel vision? Am I only looking at one side of the game? There's a lot of things I have to think about, but for the most part, trying to just, like, look at how you can play the best. I know that's such a blanket statement, a broad term, but it really is, and has tried. I've, like, shaped myself in my, like, you know, set of thinking around that. Like, can I play better at this character rather than, yeah, like, every once in a while I'll do a play and I'll get pissed off because I'll be like, damn, my Zarya didn't bubble me, or my so-and-so didn't do so-and-so play. And I'm like, yeah, but we're not playing as a, like, we're playing as a team because we're queuing together, but we're not a coordinated, like, entity. I shouldn't assume that they're going to always make this one play. So maybe I try to formulate myself around, like, if I do this, am I going to be able to get value out of it? And am I going to be able to, like, you know, live? When I die, I'm like, was that me? Because it maybe it was my team doing something wrong, but there's probably a better way I could, you know, play around that. And especially if your team isn't doing something right, like if you're not getting enough healing as a tank, or you're not, you know, your tanks aren't supporting you well enough and you're playing support, instead of just being like, oh, my tanks aren't doing this well, or oh, my DPS aren't fragging enough, you need to think about, okay, maybe they're not doing their job as well as they should be, but I've got to do my job better, or maybe in a different way to respond to that. Like, sometimes a healer is not gonna, like, I want to play Reinhardt, or I want to, you know, play a certain character, and my team is not, like, on the right characters for that to work. Instead of complaining that they're not playing for me, I should try to play for them, because I can change that, right? I can be the one to adjust, but sometimes people just want others to adjust for them, and I'm like, well, and maybe that's the right play, maybe that is the correct reason, but you can't always, like, blame things and then just not do anything about it. And that's something I'll see people do a lot, is they'll complain about, you know, a character, or they'll complain about a scenario, and I'm like, you're complaining about this, but you're not making an attempt to change it. And, like, that's the thing, you can't just complain and then just watch it happen and not do anything. So it seems like a little bit similar in, like, our mindsets.
I think
that's the best mindset, really.
That is, like, the best mindset. I think two things with that is, I think you will have a much better enjoyment of the game when you, and I think this honestly prevails more towards Overwatch than Smash. It does a lot in Smash. I think just focusing on your locus of control, like, only focus on things you can control about, and get sad and mad about things you can control about. So, like, your own performance, right? I think it's, like, futile to ever, like, get angry. Okay, anger happens subconsciously, right?
Yeah.
I would say it's futile to complain about, you know, like, like you said, the tank not doing their job, or, like, the healers are not healing. Like for some reason they're pushing for some reason, you know,
Yeah.
or like why are they playing the weight? That stuff is like terrible thing. You can't control that. There's no point in wasting energy on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then second thing when we're talking about complaining, right? I think complaining is a completely natural thing to do. You know, like
Yeah.
it's
Of course.
everybody gets angry. Everybody's gonna complain about the game you play, especially when you invest so many hours into it, right? So much time. And I was talking about this earlier. The only complaining is the easy part, right? You got that out of the way. Now do the hard thing. Okay, do the research. Do like the matchup. Do actually put in some work to figure out what you're gonna do about. Otherwise, you're just like kind of banging your head in the wall again.
Yeah.
And then,
No. And this is a small thing. It's just for Overwatch, really, because I don't think maybe you could apply this if you play like teams in Smash, but
Yep.
I don't think you really, for the most part, you're gonna have to like talk this. But when I play with my team, I'm like, so you know, I'll play with friends, right? And we'll get competitive about the game because we want to win. I like, you know, a lot of people will be like, oh, let's just dick around in the game, and I'm like, you know, honestly, we could do that, and it might be fun, but I like winning.
Yep.
And I like to win every time. I like I don't want to just like screw off and like play something that's gonna lose. I want to win, even in quick play. And maybe that's like not the best mindset, but like it's the mindset I have. I like winning. Winning gives me the most
winning
joy
is
in this
fun.
game.
Yeah, winning's fun.
It is.
Who
fun.
doesn't like
Who
winning?
doesn't like winning? But when we're playing, you know, with people who I'm talking to and we're trying to make plays and stuff, I've played with some people who will blame one person on the team. Worst thing to do. Never do it. I hate it when people do that. I try to take the approach of the we mindset, and I think I've talked to you about this before. But when like, so say the enemy is making a certain play, or one person on the enemy team is doing something really specific, and like maybe their widow is just picking us off. Instead of saying, hey, so and so, you need to do this better.
Yep.
I say we need to do blank so that like
that widow.
This doesn't happen.
Yep.
Because if you put it on one person, they just feel like isolated, and they feel like, you know, like it's you get like a heat, like a wave of heat, like maybe anger, or just like usually it's anger when someone just points you out and says you're fucking this up. And if it's a coach, you know, and you're on a team, that's their job. Their job's to tell you what you're doing wrong, and you got to take that shit, because that's your job. Is, you know, if you're into like a team, your job is to win.
Do your
that's
part to win.
So that's one thing. But if it's, you know, you're playing with your teammates in the game, telling them to do this better is usually, at least in my experience, not the right call.
Yeah.
It's talking about what we can do as, you know, a unit, like acting like we are a team, and that understanding that everyone fucks up. That's the best like mindset to have when you're playing in that kind of environment, because it's really not going to do anyone any good if you're just, you know, blaming them. Especially when you do it, you know, in a verbal sense. Maybe you do it in your head. Maybe it's not the right thing, but like if you say that out loud, like what's the benefit there? Maybe they do make the play. You could like suggest things to them and say, like, okay, you might want to play back a little bit, because how do I explain it? You might, sometimes you can tell someone to do something, but I always try to like relate it to myself, and this is actually something I do at work, where I'll tell someone to do something, but I'll relate it to me.
Okay.
Like if I say, okay, you guys might want to position back further, because I am not able to like protect you as much as I want to.
Okay.
So like I'm doing something wrong, but we should probably, like, you might want to do this
team, you know,
so that I can do this better for you, or something like that. It's specific, obviously, but that kind of mindset where it's like, don't blame one person. And in Smash is different because it's all about you, you know. Yeah. It's all internal. But in Overwatch, there's a lot of like, even that kind of small stuff when you're talking to people, it can really set someone up and piss them off, and then they might not want to like play the right way. Maybe they'll just get like angry and frustrated with you, and they won't even want to like really play as a team. And once that happens, I mean, you're starting to crumble from the inside.
I feel like at that point, it just creates such a negative energy when you single somebody out and you're on the same team, but at that point when you direct I think it depends on how you put it, like how you say it. When you're relating it to yourself, it's more of a positive learning environment. But if somebody criticizes somebody and singles them, like, you suck, why are you pushing them at this point, you know, or why is it taking you so long to get back from spawn, or I don't know as much as the high level, but at that point it's creating a negative energy, and at that point you're not a team anymore, you're just 6 individual parts.
Yeah,
you know?
no, exactly. And you're not going to be a team every time, you know, you queue for a game, but if you can try to be, that's that's what you want to be. You want to be at least in Overwatch. You want to be a team, and I feel like in some extent in Smash, you lose a match, you can take things away from it, but just being like, well, I'm gonna fucking lose this next one. Like, no, you gotta be like GG next. Like
GG next.
Okay, I lost that one. I'll try to play this way differently, and go into the same. And that's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. To just be like, okay, I'm just gonna disregard what happened before and only take away the things I need to. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. Everyone's gonna have matches at least. I mean, I haven't done it. I haven't played a lot, but there's I get the idea that every time you lose a round, you keep doing it over and over, or you lose like a match and you lose another match, and it's like, it's not going to be so easy to just be like, okay, whatever, I don't care, I'm not getting frustrated by this at all.
Especially at I feel like at a top level when you actually have things at stake, like if you're in your basement playing quick play and you lose a match, it's a lot easier to say, okay, it's not going to phase me, right? Yeah. But when you're like top 8, right, in a major tournament, and there's money on the line, there's like your respect on the line, your like whole like your own reputation, right? That's like, you're thinking about things that don't even matter, don't even pertain to the game. Like, oh my god, if I win this one, oh my god, I'll get more Twitter followers. Right? Yeah, all that shit. There's just dumb random shit going through your mind.
It's such a true. That's so true, and something I wanted to bring up a little bit, and this is like maybe a little bit of a tangent, but it does have to deal with that. See if I can look it up.
I think that in itself, that like amount of stress when you're in that place in that tournament, that's like top level mental fortitude right there. I think that's such a good skill to have, like mental fortitude in times of stress.
No, it's difficult. Like, so in the Overwatch League today, there's a lot of teams in the league like we were talking about before, but there's some that everyone agrees are the best. San Francisco Shock, they have won the Overwatch League twice in a row, back to back. And if you think about it, there's been 3 years. They've won 2 of those years back to back. And as time goes on, the game only gets better, so it gets harder to win that. The fact that they've done it for 2 years in a row, not a small achievement. Pretty damn big. They've like won like out of all these different stage, stage playoff tournaments too. They've won like in the past 6, they've won like 3 of them. So this team is, they're goated. They're a heavy team. And today they lost in the beginning of the season after their first match, which they won. They lost to a newly formed, like pretty much a new team, 3-2, which it was a damn close game. But I saw one of the players at the end. They were crying because I know for them, they don't want to lose. They want to like, it's not only just about like losing the match. It's about like the respect for the team. People might start thinking lower on them because they have a reputation to defend and call themselves like the defending champs. Because until someone dethrones them, and this is just one game. It's not like the playoffs, but it's still for them. It's you have,
especially after all that work you put in, the hours of like,
and there's so much scrim time and like practice that there's going on behind the scenes that we don't get to see. And you could win 100 times against these players, but when it comes down to match time, you lose it all, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm sure it's the same in Smash.
Yeah, same thing. I think it's just so such a stressful mindset at the top. And what you were saying is like, when you're at the top, you have so much more to lose than like a newbie team coming, and I think that's a really big thing in Smash, because in Smash what happens in like every game, there will be like a dominant player, right? A dominant player that's just like whooping consistently, right? And in Melee, it was a lot of players, because Melee is like 25 years old. So over the years, it's been like stage. At first, the beginning of Melee, it was Ken, and then it was like the 5 gods were there just whooping everyone. Smash Brawl was like Mewtwo King and a little bit of Zero. Smash 4 was Zero. He actually had the record for like the most tournaments wins in a row. He had like 54 tournament wins in a row. Yeah. And I was like watching his interview, and it was just like he, at that point, like nobody is rooting for you. Everybody just wants to see you lose, like now MK Leo, he's more liked in general. So now a lot of people want to see him lose, because he's just a really like a well-liked person. But still, like when you're at the top, it shifts from when you're trying to get to the top and doing good, you have all these followers, all these support, and then when you get to the top, it's like I just feel like, and then everybody just turns. Everybody just wants to see you lose.
Yeah, no, and that's such a truth. I can admit to it myself that I see the shock. Well, I'm kind of a storyline guy. I see these like top teams, and I'm like, okay, maybe they lose against another top team, and I'm okay with that. But like they lose against a middle of the pack team, and I start getting worried. I start like not liking that. Like I'm glad that the Houston Outlaws are like rising up, but at the same time, it's like throwing my internal like idea of what's good and what's not like kind of all over the place, and I'm like, damn, that's kind of weird. But for the most part, yeah, like I see the top team that's been the top for 2 years going into like if they go into the playoffs, I'm gonna want them dethroned. I mean, who doesn't? You know, they've you want the people who are like new and up and coming, and they built their new roster, and they're hungry. You want those people to get success, and they know that. But at the same time, there are fans that they have, and I'm sure they're thinking about the people who still, like, despite them being at the top for so long, people who, like, not only want them to win, but there's people who expect them to win.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's even,
yeah, and I can't imagine, man. I can't imagine what it's like to lose a match. I mean, shit, Philadelphia Fusion, my favorite team, they have been second place in so many fucking tournaments. Damn. Last year, Summer Showdown, it was, like I said, it was best of 4. It was 3-3. It came down to like the last fight, and my team unfortunately lost to the Paris Eternal. I mean, I was broken up like for like a couple days. Like it was like a tug in my chest. I'm like, God damn it, like one fight. But I mean, I saw one of my favorite players cry on screen because he lost this game, and I'm sure for him, he's been itching for like a victory for so long, and at the same time, you're thinking about all the fans you have that just really want you to win, and it's
hard.
It's hard, man. That's something I have yet to experience, if I ever will, is having people who like want you to do something really badly, and having the expectation for yourself too to do it, and then like failing, and like how that impacts not only you but like the people that have that expectation for you. It's unique.
I think so. Like I know we talked about this. Like I do want to go pro. Like I want to be like PGR ranked in the future. And I'm like super excited to get to that point, and honestly, it's been like super fun, just like training, practicing, and I see myself getting better. Like that's one of my favorite parts of like, I think of myself like just like last year, like I would like fucking sucked at the game now, and now I think I'm like a lot more confident in the game, and I'm just like comparing myself from like last year or even like a couple months ago to like now, and I'm just like, it just makes me happy. I'm like, wow, I had to like really improve pretty fast.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like last Overwatch League season was last summer, and I was probably at the beginning of like June. I was probably still in kind of like that casual like watching phase, and then as I progressed, I was like, oh, like how did I start understanding this game so much? And now I look back and I'm like, no, I'm way better than I was. I understand so much more without even like really realizing. You just play so much, you practice, you watch things, and you just absorb that shit.
I think that is, again, like I know we keep going back to mindset, but I just think it's like super important. I think that is the really important way to look at yourself. I think there's like two routes, and it's like either you're result focused or you're improvement focused, right? And I think everybody to some extent is result focused, right? But when you're only result focused, when you only care about like placings, if you won or lost, I think that's like such a bad like mindset to have. And like I used to be like that, like when I was like doing Wi-Fi tournaments, I'm like, damn, I got this place, or I got this, and I get down on myself. I'm like, fuck, man, I suck, bro. I just got 2-0, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's improvement focused when you are sorry,
no, you're good,
not comparing results, but you're comparing like, are you getting better, are you understanding the game more, and in that itself, it's just such a healthier mindset, and you improve a lot better.
I think I'll talk about that, and then we'll probably have some like final thoughts on the podcast in general. But I think a great thing to do is you can talk about a loss, right? You can obviously you're gonna look back on a loss and think, where could I have done this better? Because you lost, and you understand that you could have done better because you did not win. It's like that's literally the simple way of thinking about it. But I think a good thing to do is...
Sorry, dude. Some water. I keep coughing out.
Nah, you're good, dude. Shit. I mean, if you don't care about soda, I can give you some of that.
Yeah, I can. Sorry, I just need... My throat got so dry all
Top is dying. We've been talking for an hour and a half. I'm not
It
surprised.
has been an hour and a half?
Yeah, it has.
It does not feel like that at all.
I'm trying to wrap it up because I know you got to go at 10.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, I completely forgot. Oh my god, I cannot believe it was an hour and a half.
Yeah, man. But I think I wouldn't say it's more important, but equally as important as reflecting on a loss is reflecting on a win, because sometimes people get too caught up in the fact that they won.
Yep.
Like, we won, that's the end of the story. Like, good job. But no, it's like sometimes you won, but you could have won way better. And like sometimes I'll think about that. Like, I'll play a game and we'll win, but I'll be like, damn, that was a shitty game for me. I do not feel like I won. I feel like we won. On the record, it says that I won that game, but I don't feel like I won. Or like, I feel like I won, but I could have still pounded more, you know? And I think reflecting on both your losses and your wins and like looking towards getting better is always the best way to do it. And I don't think that's anything anyone's really ever debated, but I think maybe some people who, in any capacity, if you just want to play casual, you just play casual, man.
Play casual.
You don't have to think about it. But if you in any capacity want to get better at a game, I think looking towards improvement in every area, both in like what we've talked about today, like communication, like mindset, skill, game sense, and just like how you view yourself and how you view the game, like all those things combined, like just looking to get better that's what you got to do.
Like getting better all around. And I'm really glad you were talking about reflecting on your wins and your losses, because that's something I'm guilty of myself, and I actually just realized that after you said it, because like now I'm thinking back, like after my losses, right, I feel like I'm really good at reflecting, okay, why did I lose that, and try and get better at it, you know. I feel in that regard I'm like good, but now that I think about it, after I win, especially like something big, like a tournament or something, I just disregard those matches for the most.
It's a little hard to do it for a tournament, because it's a tournament. You won the tournament.
Yeah,
like, you can reflect on it as
happy.
much as you want, but you won. Like, I mean, I don't know. Who cares, you know? I mean, obviously, yes, if like an Overwatch meta shift between tournaments, so maybe you don't even review the tournament because maybe the meta is not important. But if it is, you know, and it was close, you should. And for you, since it's Smash and the meta doesn't like, it's not in Overwatch, the meta shifts like constantly. It's a really fast change all the time. And in Smash, not so much.
It's like every couple months, 2 months. You know?
So even if you win a tournament, you know, give it a week or something. I don't know. The hype's gonna stay. You know, you want that hype. You want to feel good about yourself. Of course you do. You fucking won. But you gotta eventually like rein that back in. And unless you were like perfect, unless you were like were clean as hell,
optimized, nothing gonna touch you. And that's definitely nowhere near like anyway. And that's honestly I was gonna thank you for that, because like after those mock tournaments, and I was like, after those and you streamed it, right?
Yeah,
I actually watched them a lot, because like I was in Chicago.
Saved that for you. I didn't think about saving that.
No worries at all. No worries. Yeah, I was in it was funny story. I was in Chicago, right, and I actually left my Switch charger in Madison, so I couldn't practice or anything for like a whole like week, 2 weeks, and in that like week I was just like rewatching like the tournament VODs, and I was just like taking note on like what I was doing good, what I was doing bad, and I think that honestly that week helped me so much, because I was just rewatching the tournament clips and like, why the fuck am I side being so much on the and I never realized that before. So VOD review I think is very important for mid-level players.
All right, this is gonna be my last statement. If you want to make like a last statement, but we've talked about a lot of shit competitively. We spent a lot of time about competitive stuff. There's so much shit to talk about. Though. Yeah. We could easily. I thought like I made these questions and I'm like, damn, are we gonna have enough time to talk about stuff? We could easily do another one on like one topic.
Yeah, on like one of these topics.
Yeah. I've just been trying to like rush it along because I'm like, I don't want to spend too much time. But I think one thing for improvement, I guess if I could give like a tip, and I'm a fucking mid-diamond, like almost masters player, so I guess if you're hearing this and you're above me, like take this with a fucking grain of salt.
Yeah, like, know this then, I guess.
But I think as I've grown, my ability to know what I did wrong has also grown, and I think when you're a lower player, you don't understand what you're doing wrong, so trying to figure that out can already like help you a lot. Like if you can understand tendencies or, you know, specific things you're doing wrong, even like one thing you're doing wrong, it might be hard because when I was a lower player, I'd like, why did I lose this game? What did I do wrong? Like, it should have, obviously it's someone else because I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I'm doing as best as I can. But if you can like start understanding one thing and then like a couple things you're doing wrong and then like fix those, that'll really start to push you up.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Especially what you said about the lower player. Like, yeah, when you're a lower player, like, I think that's why VOD review is best for mid level players. Level players, you watch that VOD, you have like no idea what's going on. You're seeing everything from base. You know, you're just seeing like, oh, he shot him and he died. You're not seeing like, oh, why was he able to shoot him? Why was he positioned there? You know, you're not seeing all that stuff. You're just saying he did this ability, they died. That's why you see smash. He did this smash attack and they died. It's not like, why did he do that smash attack there? Why was he sure it was gonna hit? Was he in disadvantage? You don't understand like the layers of the game. And then when you're at a top level, you don't even need the VOD review because right after the game, you know what happened, right?
Yeah, you know what you did wrong. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Is maybe when you're at a lower place, the best thing you can do is just get really comfortable with something, play more. But once you start getting into a period of time where you understand the game, maybe looking back on your footage to push you further.
Yeah. I think, honestly, the best way to improve at any game or, like, anything, I think there's just, like, two parts to it. You know, one part, you need to have, like, an improvement mindset. Like, I think that's one of the most important things and most healthiest things. Like, it'll save you a lot of, like, energy and mental, like, just mental toll in the long run. Because, like, when I first started playing, like, I'd play against, like, Steven and like Simon, right? And we would be able to play like Smash 4 and then beginning into Ultimate. I would just get whooped. Like, I'm like, and I would not even understand it, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna play. I know I'm gonna lose. It doesn't matter. You're not playing to win, you know, you're just playing to learn. Like, playing to learn, I think, is so much more important than playing to win.
No, yeah.
Until you get to the top level. Then you gotta play to win.
You gotta play to win.
And second thing for improvement is, I think you just have to play the game, you know? Just put the hours in, you know, like, play the game. Put yourself in the same situation so many times so you understand that situation. Yeah. You just gotta, like, put in the travel hole, you know?
I agree. All right, well, this has been a really, Jesus, we've so much time, but it doesn't feel like it's been really great. I feel
like we've been talking for, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah. I'd love to do another one of these. Hopefully we can do another one. Maybe we can agree on a topic and we can talk about that for a while. But if anyone watches this, I'll probably be putting this up on my YouTube channel. Hopefully you enjoyed. God, if you made it through all this, how?
You are a trooper. Sub and hit that bell.
Yeah. But thanks so much, Mehtab, for coming on.
Okay, thank you for having me. It was such a fun to like talk about this, you know?
And then, hopefully we see you guys in another episode. We'll be having more, at least I'll be having more free time as this semester comes to a close. So
same here.
Hopefully we'll have some opportunities to make another one of these, or maybe I'll have on another guest, or maybe, you know, who knows? All right, well, everyone, you guys take care.